a bow to take your Skyrim Stealth Archer build to the next level, a 3D printed mask for the perfect fit, and a custom made resistance band set to make Thrill of the Fight even more difficult. These are just 3 of the epic Quest 3 and Quest 3S accessories that I'll be testing in today's video, and my goal is to rank each of them so you know if they're worth buying or not. First up we have the Shadow Shot Bow from Deadeye, and I tested this in Dungeons of Eternity, All-in-One Sports, and in Death Unchained. But it wasn't until I booted up Skyrim VR for my 111th Stealth Archer playthrough that I realized just how awesome it was. Now look, I know that playing a Stealth Archer in Skyrim in 2024 is cringe, but hear me out. The bow has a draw strength of 15 pounds or 7 kilograms. So when I was using it, it kind of felt like it was actually using a bow. Now, it's not perfect. Pulling and releasing the string doesn't actually do anything. You still have to pull the trigger and aim with your right hand, which did take a little bit to get used to. But overall, for $50, I'd say it's definitely worth buying, and this would sit comfortably in A tier for me. Now, the bow is a bit of a niche purchase, but this next one is mandatory for anyone that is serious about using their quest. Now, I've got 7 straps to talk about, and straps are normally the first upgrade someone will get because the default one just, well, it's not great for distributing the weight across your face. Up first is Razor, and in typical Razor fashion, this is very overpriced for what you get. And I stupidly paid 70 USD for this one, but I would only recommend it if you plan on lying down on the floor to watch movies or do ab exercises, because it is actually quite comfortable to lie down with. It also works quite well with my bald head, but I did read a review that if you have hair, then it might slip off. So yeah, unless you're bald and spend a lot of time lying down, then I can't really recommend it. Definitely niche buy, and this goes into B tier for me. AMVR Elite Strap. Now, this one is probably the one I have the most experience with. It's cheap, at only $34, comfortable, and has loads of padding and is easy to use. Nothing really bad to say about it, easily S tier. Now, if you do need a bit more juice, then the Kiwi K4 Elite Strap is the way to go. It's streamlined, got all the same padding, and it does add a bit of the weight to the back of your head, but it basically doubles the battery life and has dual charging, which means that the strap and the headset can charge at the same time. Or you can go for the Kiwi single charging system. This is intended to be used in conjunction with the Kiwi charging stand, which is a very tidy package, but I would only recommend this if you have the stand. Otherwise, it's better to go for the newer and cheaper K4 Elite strap. Both these are S tier, and I highly recommend. Then we have 2 cheaper options, which is the Maker Elite and the Zybra Elite, which come with or without a charger. Well, both of these are very, very similar to the AMVR and the Kiwi K4. Well, in fact, all Elite straps are very similar in design, but these are a bit cheaper at this expense of no back padding, but they're still both great pickups for those on a budget. I'm going to put both of these in A tier. And then the final strap to review is the Kiwi H4. Now, this is a halo strap and is probably the most comfortable, has the biggest battery, and best distributes the weight around your head. But I don't ever really use it. And the main reason for that is even on the tightest setting, it still just moves around a little bit too much for the fitness games that I play every day. That's why I haven't invested in a Bobo VR halo strap and batteries either. But depending on your use case, this might be the way to go for you. At $80, I'm going to put this in B tier for me, but if you're a halo strap person, then this might be S tier. While straps are important, this one often gets overlooked and in my opinion might be even more important. And that's facial interfaces. Now I'm using a custom made 3D printed silicon based interface by Oblique. Now for this guy you have to be in the US and be an iPhone user. And so I met neither of these requirements, so I had to actually send them an email and use my wife's iPhone. But the result is so worth it. Not only is it way more hygienic than the base cloth interface, but it perfectly fits my weird shaped head. It is pricey at 89 USD, but in my opinion it is so worth it. S tier. Before that, I had a Maker PU leather facial cover. Now, this is super cheap and super comfortable, and despite it not being silicone, it was still far easier to clean after intense workouts. At $23, this one gets an A tier. Then we have the official Meta breathable silicone-based Quest 3S facial cover. So yes, this one does let in a little bit of light, but for mixed reality and sports game, it's not the biggest deal, and it does help with the lenses fogging up. At $40, overall it's a nice buy, and I'll put it in A tier. Now we go back to some fun toys, and first up we have the AMVR gun handles. Now when I opened these, I'm not gonna lie, I thought these would be the biggest waste of time ever. They're literally just 2 pieces of plastic, and once you put on the headset, you're barely gonna even know they're on, right? But they add about 117 grams of weight, and that is front heavy. And because of that, they feel so much better in game. And holding them sideways and lining up a cool shot, just wow. For $29, I'm gonna put them in A tier. Team us off next, we have the Deadeye Driver Elite, and this thing is ridiculous. I can't believe I ever thought the VR Golf was good without it. It has adjustable weights so you can customize it to your own liking, and has the ability to be swung with either controller, and it even has presets in games like Golf Plus and Walkabout Mini Golf, so you can perfectly line up your shots. Now it is priced at $90, and even though it's obviously a niche buy, because it only works with golf games, I'm going to bump it up to S tier since I play these a lot and it just feels that much better. The AMVR golf handle is a fantastic budget alternative. It doesn't have adjustable weights or that premium feel that the Deadeye does, but it still feels decent to swing and is a massive upgrade over just using the controller. This one over the Deadeye is that it's slightly more comfortable when using the controller to change clubs or interact with the game menu just because of how it's lined up. At $40, this is easily A tier, and by the way, if you want discounts on any of these products, I'll put affiliate codes in the link below. Next up is a bit of table tennis, and I've only used this with 11 table tennis so far, and it does add quite a bit of immersion and improvement to the gameplay. Now, even though I do enjoy racket VR games, it doesn't quite take up just as much as my playtime. 3-in-1 sticks. Now, these were amazing with the Quest 2, but unfortunately with the Quest 3's controller design and them not having rings, that does mean that sometimes you'll run into tracking issue with these. I have both the Zyber and the Maker ones here, and they both feel super secure when using them. They're also pretty versatile. I use the short handle as my primary golf handle for about 6 months without too much issues, but the long handle and especially the maul or kayak handle, you're going to want to make sure your headset can always see the controller faces, and I did this by carefully screwing them in to ensure that they are lined up correctly. Now Zyber is $35 and Maker is $29, B tier for both of them. Prescription inserts, and I have Maker, Hans VR, and VR Rock. I wish I could tell you the difference in coating, reflections, build quality, but they honestly all look kind of the same to me. They help me see in VR and just make it that little bit clearer. Now I used the Hans VR ones for about 6 months until I lost one because I'm stupid, and now I've tried both the VR Rock and Maker and they both work great. I'm going to put them all in A tier, and my recommendation is just to pick the one that's on sale and has free shipping to you. On to charging docks. Up first is the Zyber Sky Tower, which looks very clean and has my Quest 3 nicely secured on top. Then we have the Kiwi stand right next to it, which in my opinion looks slightly better at the expense of not charging your controllers. I also have the Maker charging stand, which sits much lower, but once again is a very nice all-in-one charging solution. And then we have the Meta official compact charging dock. This keeps your controllers charged, but you'll have to still plug in your headset at $60. For all of these, even though it slightly reduces the friction of getting into VR, it's nice to know that your headset will always be at full charge, and it does make your gaming room look slightly more clean. But if you think about the alternative, I mean, you just plug it in and buy some batteries. So they're all getting an unnecessary stamp of C tier. Actually, maybe that's a little bit harsh, they can go into B tier. On to travel cases, and I have 2 here to review. Up first is the AMVR large carry case, which is absolutely solid and will easily fit in Elite straps, controllers, and even a few other smaller accessories, and comes in at $34. Next is the official Meta compact carry case. This one only works with a cloth strap, and yes, that does include the overpriced Razer one. Obviously good if you're short on carry room. I normally take this one to my local park for some outdoor mixed reality fun, and $50. Now I'm going to put both of these cases into B tier as well, because what you can actually do is just put them back in the original box, and I've done this when traveling to New Zealand. This is more of a small quality of life thing. Now we're getting into some miscellaneous things, and getting a mat for your play space is one of the best things you can do for immersive VR gaming. The Boundary does a good job, but having that tactile feedback on your feet is always better for those intense VR moments, and can save you from breaking your controllers or worse, your hands on the wall. And if you have hardwood surfaces like me, it can help with a bit of foot fatigue. Most of my play areas are quite long and narrow, so a yoga mat makes sense for me, but if you have more of a square shaped space, then perhaps a circle mat would work better for you. Now mine's from Decathlon, and I think it was like $10, easily S tier. I've got one bonus accessory, and this is the Garmin Fenix 7 Pro, and this is probably one of the best tech purchases I've ever made in my life. I like this thing almost as much as I like my Quest 3. Not only does it track all of your VR workout sessions and give you really cool stats which you can use to understand which games work best for you, but it also gamifies working out in other ways through badges, and you can challenge your friends. I also have the heart rate chest strap, which I use for VR because VR workouts often involve a lot of wrist flexion and tension, and I find that the chest strap is just a little bit more reliable for getting clean data out. The MX ink pen, now this is definitely a skill issue, but I tried booting up Figment VR and tried my best at drawing and creating something. But you know those like flow state diagrams? Well, I was definitely just down at apathy level for all of this. It's just not for me. I also tried it out with Thrasher, which was a little bit more up my alley, but then again, I'd rather just play Beat Saber. At $169, this is C tier for me, but obviously this might be way higher for you if you are the arty type. Then we have the Zyber neck charger. Now I actually use this all the time for extended play sessions. Keeps the weight off your head and adds about 2.5 hours of playtime. I think it costs $80 and I'm going to put this into A tier. Then we're back with Deadeye again, and this time slipping on some of their boxing gloves. Now I'm not sure if this is another skill issue, but these were not that enjoyable for me. I found it quite difficult to interact with the controllers when they were on. I even tried having to go on a heavy bag in real life, which probably wasn't my smartest move, but overall I'm putting them in B tier. I just prefer boxing with the active grips, which is up next. And here we have two to look at. Now the Kiwi grips come with a silicone case and the Deadeye active grips, which don't. Now because of all the handle attachments I'm using at the moment, they actually work with the Deadeye, so I prefer using the Deadeye on my Quest 3. They're just easier to get in and out of. At $27, I'm going to put these ones into S tier and the Kiwis into A tier. Because of that silicone face cover, you're going to have to be taking it on and off all the time if you want to use other accessories or charging docks. But both of them make boxing and combat games so much more enjoyable. And then finally, we have some boxing resistance straps. Now, I like the idea of these, and I got these custom made because I wanted to stop overextending my punches and add a bit of resistance to my VR boxing games. But just the execution isn't perfect. They cut a little bit into my hand and there's a bit of friction under the armpit. These cost about 60 USD to get made and a lot of back and forth, and realistically you could probably just get away with holding a resistance band. This is C tier for now, but maybe if I go through a few rounds of product development then these could improve. So here's how I would prioritize my upgrades. I would get a good Elite or Halo strap with a battery, a silicone or leather based facial interface, and a play space mat so I know where I am. Then I'd look at getting a fitness tracker, some controller grips, and maybe some prescription lenses inserts if I need them. I'd start to pick up a few handle extenders to enhance some of my favorite games. That might be a golf handle, a bow, or even some gun stocks. And then finally I'd start to look at some small quality of life things, which are the charging stands and carry cases.